My name is John H., but my real name is John Holloway, but John H. is what they used to call me when I was in recovery at the New Bridge Foundation. I grew up in Oakland. This is a condensed version. So I grew up in Oakland, graduated elementary, junior high, high school, which was great. But I started getting into marijuana at 1970. Oh, by the way, I'm 72 years old, and I did drugs for 29 years. And that led me to being put in jail in North County and Santa Rita and all that business. And then like later on through time and in my life, I became homeless because of drugs and things of that nature. I'm here today just to talk about how I got here and what I intend to do with the rest of my life. I'm not gonna lie, I had a great time using drugs in the 70s, man. You know, it was a thing to do. And have a whole lot of fun going to concerts and house parties and stuff and everything like that. And you heard the phrase, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, where you're looking at it right there. So I went through that for a long time, and then in '85 I started smoking crack, and crack led me to everything I just mentioned before, to jail, and I've never been to prison now. I stopped myself before I went there, but it still was all effed up, you know. So I got myself together after talking to my mother and my brother, and my rock bottom was actually seeing my mom cry. She had called the police on me because I stole some money from her. She called the police on me, and she started crying because my life was like straight downhill, no job, no family. I burnt all my bridges. Nobody, I ain't gonna say they hated me, but they didn't like me. But the one thing I will never forget is what my mother said to me when we had my little intervention, which was, she didn't know who I was, and she wished that she had her son back. And again, then all of us started crying, okay? So I was a mess. So I ended up going to New Bridge Foundation, and I stayed there for 4 years. I did a year of aftercare. Oh, just let me say this. I went into New Bridge July 24th, 1995, and after aftercare, I graduated from New Bridge February 19th, 1999. And it was an experience. So I went into New Bridge homeless, and when I left New Bridge, I still was homeless. So that means I had to take everything from New Bridge and go back out on the streets to shelters and transitional programs, all right? I did that, never used while I was out there. I was trying to get my, you know what, together, which I did. And I'm happy to say now that I have 28 years clean. I have, my clean date, like I said, is July 24th, 95. So on 29th of July, I will have 29 years clean. And I am real proud about that. I am absolutely proud about that, because there's a lot of people out there who go to programs and what have you, and they relapse. And I've never relapsed, because I know what's on the other side of the fence. And one of my counselors told me, his name was Ted, rest his soul, he said, John H., there's a gray area in recovery. There's this side, the right-hand side, there's a left-hand side, and there's that fence in the middle. So the right-hand side, the right-hand side is misery, jail, police, bullpen, everything that has to do, everything bad with drugs. And the left-hand side is family, work, everything that's positive. So I stay positive. Everybody in my life, and like this young lady in front of me, is positive. I have a very small circle of friends. 28 years later, I still go to NA meetings and AA meetings. I went back to college after I got out of Newbridge and was unhoused. I finally found my way of I didn't know anything about the streets, you know, so I had to be real careful. But in that time, I still was trying to get my act together to better myself, not to use drugs, stay away from the people who are using drugs. And we have a saying in NA, people, places, and things. Stay away from the bad people, stay away from the bad places, and stay away from the things that means paraphernalia like crack pipes, meth pipes, weed and all that stuff. So you stay away from that, which I did. And then I got into a transitional house, a Newbridge transitional satellite house, which some of my friends were in there. And I got put on SSI because I had a thyroid issue, which I still have today. And I got on SSI. And what that place did for me is when I got my check, they would put $150 up for me. So that way, when I had a chance to get out and move forward, I had money saved up, which at that time, from staying at that satellite house, I had almost $3,000 saved up. And here where it gets good, ladies and gentlemen, this is why you always have to believe in what you're doing. I went to go see my social worker. Her name was Miss Sharice Green, who I've been working with since the time I got out of Newbridge. I went and told her I had money saved up, and I told her what I was doing, and that I'm looking to take that next step forward in life. And it just so happens, while I was leaving outside the door, and this was boss over there by the California Hotel on Telegraph, I heard somebody say, "Mr. Holloway, Mr. Holloway." And it was her co-worker. Her name was Jackie. Jackie called me back. I sat down, and she said, "I just heard you talk to Miss Green about taking the next step." And I said, "Yeah." And she went in her drawer. She brought out a piece of paper and put it on her desk. And I asked her what this was. She said it was a Shelter Plus Care voucher, which I had no knowledge of, none. So I asked her what it was. And she said, "It's a Shelter Plus Care." And she said, "Mr. Holloway, you have 180 days to find an apartment." I was so happy. And again, ladies and gentlemen, it took me 3 weeks. 3 weeks to find an apartment. My landlord, her name was Mrs. Parker. She was not going to let me move in because I was a bachelor, and she said all bachelors are slobs. And I told her, I said, "Excuse me, my mama didn't raise me like that, you know." So we made a deal, and she said that you can stay here. And I told her, "You can come in, check on my apartment and everything." And she did that for like maybe a month and a half, and she let me stay. But the thing I want to realize, you guys, is when she dropped those keys in my hand, and I put that key in that lock and I opened up that door, I fell to my knees. I started crying, and I said, "Thank you to my higher power," which are angels. There's another whole story behind that. Anyway, I was so thankful that I never gave up, and I reached my goal, which was finding my own place. You know, and I was so happy about that. I stayed there for like a year and a half, almost 2 years, and then I moved to Grant Street. It's right down the street over there by Dwight Way. I live there now with my wife of 20 years, and have 4 kids. I have 4 grandkids. Actually, no, 5, because I was telling Melanie that I have a brand new grandson. His name is Dutton. So my life is going fine now. I'm working here at the Winter Shelter. And one thing, before I forget, I want to tell you that I went, after using drugs for 29 years, one of my counselor, Angela, said, John, you would make a good drug counselor because you listen. And I was skeptical because I haven't been to school since 1969, and here it was 1998. Okay, so you figure, do the math on how many years of drugs that is. So I went back to school. I had my friend Jimmy H., who graduated with me at Newbridge, and he took me around the campus, and I signed up for all the classes I had to do. And in short, I went there in '98, and I graduated in the year 2000 with a degree in substance abuse and a certificate in community service. And most people don't know their calling. My calling is to help others, because we have a saying in NA, you keep what you have by giving it away. So that is my quest in life, is to help other people get on their feet, help other people get off drugs and narcotics and alcohol, and let them know that there is a better way of life than walking to the store at 6:30 in the morning and picking up a can of Old English. Okay? So I'm going to probably end right there. I had all my notes, so I want to thank Melanie, and I want to thank the BMC to let me do this, so maybe somebody might see this and get inspired, you know, to get off their behind and do the right thing. So again, my name is, one more thing. There's one more thing. When I graduated from Newbridge and we had our graduation, and remember I told you guys that my mother didn't know who I was. So when I got my chance to speak at my graduation, I stood my mom up, and I had my stepdad, his name was Dale. I stood my mother up in front of, like, I don't know, 500, 600 people, and I said to her, Mom, you got your son back, right? So that goes to tell you, you guys can go full circle from bad to good, all right? So my name is John H. Stay on the good foot, and peace out. Thank you very much.